Welcome to Heritage Acres Homestead. I'm Chas. Here you'll find our family as we strive to live a life that pleases the Lord. We do our best to make the most out of what we've been given, so we'd like to invite you to come along and join us on our journey.
Good morning, y'all. I'm Chas, and welcome back to Heritage Acres Homestead. So today, what I wanted to talk to y'all about is jam. Okay, I know I've done videos on jam before, but I have a little bit of an idea today that I want to share with you. And we're going to make jam with a store-bought pectin. We're going to make jam with a lower sugar pectin, and we're going to make jam with just the fruit itself. And that's normally how I make jam. Now, you may be looking at me and say, Chas, why in the world? Do you just love to make things harder for yourself? And some people believe that I truly do. And sometimes I wonder if I don't. Do I really love to just make things harder? No, I don't. But I do care about what goes into my food and into the mouths of my family, because I'm the one making it, and they're the ones that are going to eat it. And so I very much care about that. Okay, so Chas, why in the world would you not just use pectin from the store? I get told a lot that I try to make things hard for myself. And maybe I do, and that's okay. I think we should do hard things. I think we should push ourselves to learn, to grow, to not just rely on convenience. And that is a soapbox where I will stop, because I can really get going on that. So what we'll say is, here are some reasons why you might not want to use a store-bought pectin. And I'm not speaking out against this one in particular. I'm just giving an overview, okay? So just take it with a grain of salt, and you do whatever you feel best for you and your family. So number one, why would I not want to buy pectin? If there was no other reason, I try to be very frugal. So it's about $5 to $8 for a box like this. I think it's up to $8 now. Now, granted, there are 2 sleeves in here that I can use, so that's 2 batches, but still, that's an added expense. If no other reason, as gardeners and homesteaders and canners and all that, we try our best to keep prices down, because it gets expensive. It can get very expensive when you're buying seed and soil and making your own fertilizer and things like that. So that's one thing. One thing is cost. Another thing is availability. Now, I know right now things are pretty abundant again, but several years ago, things were very hard to find. And we don't know when something like that could happen again. Now, you could stockpile if you chose to do that. If you really loved it and needed it and wanted it, you could stockpile it. It does have expiration dates on it. I've not tested those to see how far you can go, but I will tell you, there is a jam I made one time, for us, of course, and not that I didn't give it to people, but it was from it was a 4-year-old pectin, and it still worked. So I'm not saying that those dates are necessarily something super crucial, but that's an option that you might want to think about. With this lower sugar pectin, you can buy it in bulk. It seems to last a bit longer. It doesn't take as much sugar in your jam as before, but there is a little bit of a different process. So you mix your pectin with your sugar, and then you mix a calcium water to add to it. And I'll show you what I mean. But there's some different steps when you're using a lower sugar pectin. And then when you use just the berries themselves or the fruit, then it's just basically you're cooking it till that natural pectin comes out. So you do cook it a bit longer. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying that's what you do. Here are some reasons why you might not want to use a store-bought pectin. And I'm not speaking out against this one in particular. I'm just giving an overview, okay? So just take it with a grain of salt and you do whatever you feel best for you and your family. All right, so there's a couple of different reasons. Actually, there's probably 3 that I can talk about. The first one is cost. So when you use a store-bought pectin, you have to put up an upfront cost for that pectin. I believe this runs around $8 now. There's 2 sleeves in there, so that's 2 batches. So you're looking at about $4 more that you're going to pay for your batch of jam. Also, you're going to be using more sugar in there. Number 2, availability. We've learned in the last 4 years, things can become very hard to find. Back in 2020, pectin was very hard to find. If you didn't have some already on your shelf, or if you didn't just eliminate using it, you were stuck. Pectin was extremely hard to find, along with jars and seals and everything else to do with canning. So availability could be a reason why you want to learn or maybe not use it. And third is ingredients. The ingredients in pectin most of the time are going to be not great. I'm not saying that this one does not say non-GMO pectin. So I have a feeling that it probably is, because most pectin is going to be derived from things that are GMO crops. So those are some things to think about. That does bother me, and that's makes me not want to use it more often, or to look for varieties that have the non-GMO option, which I believe Pomona's is an option for a non-GMO product. I will double check that. So Pomona is a lower sugar pectin. It's an option that you can use. There's different forms of store-bought pectin out there, and this of course is a bought-in pectin, but it is mainly from, I think you can get it from Amazon or Azure, because I don't think it's like something you could find on the shelves unless you have a healthful grocery store in your area. I do not. So this pectin will be used with less sugar, but it also has to be activated a little bit differently, and I'll show y'all how I'm going to do that. So don't worry. But then the last version that we're going to make is the just all fruit method, and no pectin. The fruit's going to be our pectin. So the fruit and sugar will be our only ingredients, and we really love this method. It does take a bit longer to cook because you're taking longer to activate that pectin in the fruit by cooking it a little bit longer at a higher temperature. So we're gonna work on those, and we're going to show you all 3 at the end. I'm gonna have little jars that I keep aside, each one that we can try, and then we're going to process all of them in my steam canner, because I know several of you have asked how to use a steam canner, and if I like it. I'll tell you right now, I love it. It's just, if you've been like me and been canning for any number of years, and you've been carrying around that big, heavy water bath that has gallons of water in it, this has, I think it's 2.5 quarts of water that's needed for the base. Oh my gracious, it's so much lighter and so much easier to deal with. If you were to have a jar break, it it doesn't take forever and a day to heat back up when you have that happen. So it's just really convenient, and I love using it. So that's what we're going to do today. I hope this is a helpful thing for you, just to help you be aware and see how the jams can be made in each of these ways. And we're in need of strawberry jam anyways. It's my family's favorite. And I've made every kind of jam under the sun just about. So this is the one they always go to. That and apple butter. But that is a whole nother day and another process, and we'll talk about that when it comes apple season. And that's another thing. You want to take the opportunity to get the fruit when it's the very best. And right now, we're at prime strawberry season. So I want to preserve. We're going to eat as many of these as we want to fresh, but we're going to preserve it and try to keep that beautiful, sweet, bright strawberry flavor for months and months to come. When we're in the dead of winter and it's close to Christmas time and we open a jar of this jam, it's going to be like sunshine. It's going to be bright and beautiful and sweet, and it's going to remind us of the summer and when these strawberries were plentiful and vibrant. That's another thing. I think what we've gotten away from eating what's fresh when it's fresh, and we just expect, well, I want strawberries in December, and you know, because of where we live, most of the time you can have strawberries in December if you want them, but you have to realize they're not being grown down the road at a farm or on yours. They're being grown across the country. They're being shipped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles to get to you. They're usually very flavorless. They have the look of strawberries, but they don't taste like they taste right now. So I think we've gotten used to what we want when we want it, rather than let's enjoy it right when it's the time and preserve it so we can enjoy it later ourselves, because you're not going to beat the way the strawberry tastes right now. You're not going to get that in October, in February. You're not going to get it any other time than right now. So let's use it to the best we can to enjoy it fresh and then preserve it ourselves so we can enjoy it later in different forms. So let's get started. Guys, I wanted to show you this for the store-bought pectin that we're going to use. It says I need 8 cups of strawberries or 4 cups of crushed strawberries, 7 cups sugar, and then 1 pouch of the pectin. So that's what we're going to go ahead and put into, well, we're not going to add the pectin yet, but we're going to take, and it says to use a dry measuring cup and measure out the fruit and measure out the sugar. Do not reduce the sugar. My hands are really stained from the strawberries. Don't use any reduced sugar. So we're going to put the berries and the sugar into our pot. Okay, so the very first batch we're going to do is the one with the store-bought pectin. And you heard me right when I read off the ingredients for this batch. 7 cups of sugar per 4 cups of crushed berries. 7 cups. So almost double our fruit. But but we're making it the way it says. So, and you saw where it says, do not reduce the amount of sugar in this recipe. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Might have to open another bag. 5. 6. 7. All right, now let's get the fruit. So I've sliced up all my berries, or almost all of them, ahead of time. And it said 4 cups of crushed, and I'm going to say or sliced fruit. And I'm going to really pack them in there just to make sure, since they're not crushed just yet. So there's 1. These berries are so ripe that they're squishing pretty well when I put them in there too. 3. 4. Alright, set the rest of the berries aside for our other batches. I'm going to turn this on and get me a spoon. I'm working on seeds, seeing what else I can plant into my beds. That's on one end of the table, and Strawberry City is on the other end. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stir this up. Let me flip you around and show you. Got the heat on. I'm going to go ahead and begin to mix this up. The strawberries are going to release juice. The sugar will bring it out of them as it heats up. So we're going to work with this jam until it gets to a rolling boil. That means a rolling boil, in case you didn't know, means a boil that does not stop if you're stirring. If it continues to boil while you're stirring, that is a full rolling boil. And some people laugh at the way I say bowl. They thought I was saying bowl. That's very different to me. A bowl is something you eat out of. A bowl is what we're doing to these strawberries. We're going to boil them. And when it comes up to that full rolling boil, we're going to turn a timer on for 1 minute exactly. And once we get that 1 minute exactly, then we'll stir in our pectin, stir it all the way in, bring it back up to a boil. Is it 1 more minute? Let me see. Let me check the instructions. Yeah. So bring it up to a boil, let it boil for 1 minute fully, pour in your pectin, stir it up, bring it back up to a boil, boil it for another minute, and then remove it from the heat. So it'll be a little bit before we get there because this is still breaking down and the sugar's kind of, mixing in with the berries. turned the immersion blender on, and it's fairly smooth now. So we're just waiting on this to come to a boil. Now, also, if you like, you can add a tablespoon of butter into the pot to help with foam, if you're worried about the foam, because it will start to foam up some. So I've been asked before, what's the difference between like apple or like butters, jams, jellies, those kind of things. So let me tell you what I think. I can't tell you that this is like Webster's Dictionary, but here we go. So a jam is usually going to have bits of fruit, you know, like either a pulp or chunks of fruit, or even sometimes larger pieces of fruit in it. It's going to not be smooth. It's going to be a little bit chunky. A jelly is made with just the juice of a particular type of fruit. A butter, like with apple butter, I believe it is cooked a very long and slow cook, like a long, low, slow cook. That's why when I do my apple butter, it's done in a roaster or a crock pot, and it cooks like almost, I don't know, 12, 24 hours, depending on the juiciness of the apples. I want it thick and just absolutely, I mean, buttery. I mean, it's thick and rich and just what you think apple butter should be. That's how I make my apple butter. I know that there's, you know, the old-fashioned ways, cooking it over a big open fire, but I can't do that. I mean, I could. I would love to do it one time just to say I did, but the crock pot or the roaster is my way of going. A preserve. A preserve is where you take large pieces of the fruit, like I think it's usually like pear preserves or peach preserves or you know, things like that. You take a large piece of the fruit and it's candied in like a syrup, and it's super thick and super sticky. My daddy loves pear preserves. If I ever get any pears, I try to make it for him, and I'm terrible at preserves because I usually scorch it. I find preserves difficult. Let's see if there's anything else. Jams, jellies, preserves, butters. I think that pretty much covers them all. If there's another one in that you're wondering about, let me know, and I will try to rank it for you. I think I actually have a list somewhere where I actually looked them up for someone and found a little page that was printable. I'll see if I can find that, and I'll link that too. But so we're making jams because they're going to have bits of fruit in there. And that's the way we like this the best. We don't want it perfectly smooth. So I've gotten our first batch on the stove. I'm cutting up the last little bit of these strawberries, and we'll just keep on trucking. All right, y'all, we are at a full rolling boil, okay? See how I'm trying my best to show you to told you from the angles that I can actually get. It's not slowing down, and it's been going for a minute. So now I'm going to quickly, I've already cut the top of my pectin. I'm going to quickly pour this in and squeeze all of it out. Get as much out as possible. Okay, start stirring that in. Don't do like me and think that that's sweet and lick your fingers. It is not sweet. See how it's foamed? I did not use any butter, but it's fine. The foam isn't really going to hurt anything. All right, we're going to let that come back up to a boil. It should happen pretty quick. Once it comes up to a good full boil, I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute. It's not hardly there where I want it just yet, but it's almost. See how it's starting to get a little more aggressive? Yeah, okay. It's not stopping when I spoon it, so we're going to start the timer. 1 minute. Now, let me fix this. To process these jars of jam, we're going to, okay, as you can see, I've got half pints, and I have pint and a halves, and I have a pint, or not a pint and a half. What is that? It's not a full pint. It's like 3/4 of a pint, maybe? Yeah, I guess that's what it is. Anyways, I've got half pints, 3/4 of a pint, and a pint. And so you're like, how do I process all those together? Well, what you do, or what I do, is I'm going to go with the longest amount of time. So the 10-minute process, or the 15-minute process, whichever you prefer for your jam, I'm probably just going to do 10. I'm going to do a 10-minute process and call it good, because these are the largest, and that's what I would use processing time for them. The others will be fine with that long. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to get a rag and I'm going to clean the tops before I affix a new lid and a band on each one. And then I've got to wash this up so I can use it for our next batch. So when you're canning anything, you want to make sure that the rim is clean. Now, if I was really concerned about this foam, I would scoop it off, but I'm really not concerned. So you can do it if you want to. I'm not. I've always boiled my new lids in the past, but they say you don't have to do that anymore. So I'll just take the new lid, add it to my jar. I'll add the band and just go fingertip tight and go ahead and put it in my canner. I'll do this with each one of the and this one, just a plain lid, will go on here, and I'm going to set it aside for tasting. All right, so our jars are in. I'm going to put the lid on. I've got 2.5 quarts of water down here in the bottom. Turn this on. Let me spin this around so you can see it. So here is, it's going to say zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. And you're going to look, let me see if I can fix this so you can see better. Depending on what zone you're in your elevation, will be what zone you like to see. We're in this zone 1, so we're going to need to come over to this green, the dark green right here, because it says 0 to 3,000 feet. So we're here, and I'm going to, as soon as it comes up to that green, that's when I can start timing it. So lid on, we'll wait till it gets over there, and that's when I'll start timing. All right, y'all, see if you can tell, we are in the green now. So now I will go and I will set my timer and start. All right, we're gonna move along. The jam has been in the canner, and I always let it set for a good 10 minutes or 15 minutes afterwards before I get it out. It usually doesn't happen with jam, but like if you were doing, you know, peaches or anything like that, the water can siphon out, or the juice can siphon out. So if you let it sit in there for a good, you know, 10-15 minutes, it helps. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those out, and then we're going to get our next batch going. But it looks really pretty. All right, this, and we may hear some pings as we go along. This batch is going to be with Pomona's. Pomona's is a low sugar pectin. So the recipe calls for 4 cups of mashed berries. So we're going to do just like we did earlier. I'm going to really smash in 4 cups of my sliced berries. 1. 2. the rest of these aside. Then it calls for calcium water. So what I've got here, the calcium water, and it comes with calcium in the pack. You're going to use, you're going to use a half a cup of water, and you're going to use a half teaspoon of the calcium and mix it together. All right, once that's mixed, you're going to use 2 teaspoons and you're going to put it in with your strawberries. So since this is a half teaspoon, I'm just going to do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this can be kept in the fridge for when you make another batch. And then the calcium powder I just put down here in my spices cabinet. Right, that's gonna be, let me get it clean. I was gonna use my spoon from last batch, but I need a clean one. I'm gonna mix that up. I'm going to begin to warm this on the stove, but before then, I'm going to use my immersion blender and just kind of mash those berries up a little bit more. Last time I should have done it like this rather than the way that I did it, but it's all right. So here it's a little more. Actually, I need to do that just a bit more. There's some big ones on the bottom. Okay. All right, I've got the heat on. I want the berries to come up to a boil. And I'm going to get a separate bowl, and I'm going to mix our sugar with our pectin. We're going to need 2 cups of sugar. We need 2 teaspoons of pectin. 2 teaspoons of pectin, in case you didn't hear me. And we mix that into the sugar. But we don't add this until that begins to boil. All right, our strawberries are now at a full rolling boil. So we're going to add in our pectin and sugar mixture. Maybe they are. Let's see. Give them another second or 2. Yeah, I think they are. It's beginning to doubt myself. Oh yeah, here we go. Well, I said there. Okay. Stove's trying to make a liar out of me. I ain't gonna put it in there until I know for sure. It is. Okay, here we go. 2 cups of sugar, 2 teaspoons of the pectin. Mix, mix, mix. Now, once this comes back to a rolling boil, you want to time it for 2 minutes, but not until it starts coming back up, for sure. It's all mixed in. See, it's all mixed in. Now we're just going to wait on that boil. Once it's up, 2 full minutes. As soon as it's 2 minutes is over, pull it off the heat and we're going to ladle it into our jars. All right, here we go. It is up to a boil. I'm setting my timer for 2 minutes. There we go. Once the 2 minutes is up, we'll pull it off the heat, ladle it into our jars, and we'll process just like we did a little while ago to 10 minutes in our canner. All right, for our last batch, we're going to do the no pectin recipe. So my original recipe calls for 8 or 8.5 cups of berries. To make it more comparable to the other recipes that we've done, I'm going to cut it in half. So I've got 4 cups of our berries, and I'm going to do just like I did before. They're all sliced. I mashed them in, went ahead and put them in here. I'm going to use the stick blender. I'm going to get them, kind of cut down just a bit more so they're more macerated, and then I'll add my sugar. To the 4 cups of berries, we're going to add 2 cups of sugar. We're getting to the bottom of the barrel. It's not hardly a cup. I'm going to mix this up. We're going to begin cooking this. So with this jam, because there's no pectin, we need to cook it and bring it up to a temperature. And jam temperature is 220. When you get to 220, that's when it's supposed to jam. You can also do cook it until it runs. It doesn't run on the back of a cold spoon or on a cold plate. Those are I think it's called plate test or spoon test. Hang on, some jam sloshed up on my backsplash. So I will try to show you both of those if I get a chance. All right, let's see what temperature we're at. We're at 213. So like I said, we want to get to 220. And that 220 can seem like a long ways. So we're just going to keep stirring and watching and cooking because we don't want it to scorch from the bottom.
Once our jam reached 220, I then took it off the heat. I filled the jars and processed them for 10 minutes, just the same.
Good morning. So here we are back with our 3 different jams. So yesterday, our very first jam that we made was the one with the store-bought pectin. Actually, the readily available store-bought pectin, not the low sugar. I'm going to take a spoon and try to, again, I didn't get the foam off. As you can see, it's very gelatinous, what you would expect from a store-bought jam. It's going to be a lot more solid of a jam than any of our others. It holds on the spoon. If that's what you like and that's what you prefer, that's very well and good. Again, I gave you some reasons why you might or might not want to use store-bought pectin. I'm going to taste it. It's very good. It is very sweet. It had 4 cups of berries and 7 cups of sugar, if you remember. So yeah, it's going to be sweeter than your other, lower sugar methods. I'm just sharing information with you, so you absolutely choose. Again, you can look at it like this. It's not like you're going to eat loads and loads and loads of jam at one setting, so, this might be your preferred method if you do like that firmer jam. This is our jam with the Pomonas. Looks like it's nice and firm too. And it is. Very firm. I'm going to take a bite of it too and share. It does look, as I'm looking at it, it looks a little grainier. I'm sure you can't see what I see. But it is firm. But it is, like I said, it's grainier. So let's give it a taste. It's really good too. There is, I don't know, there's a little bit more of, I guess just, it's less sweet. I was going to say there's almost a sharpness there, but I guess that's just more berries and the sugar's not covering them up as much. So again, great option. That Pomona, I've had that on my shelf for years and years. Still working great. The last, and like I said, the one that we use the most, and you're going to see it is a soft set jam. It is not solid. We do not mind this. We actually kind of prefer it. All right, so let's taste this one. I don't know why, y'all. This tastes the best out of all of them to me. I don't feel like I have a super fine palate, so it's not like I'm picking up the, the stuff in these. It just tastes clean. It just tastes very strawberry forward. Yum. That, to me, that's the winner every time. I wish I had someone else here that I could get them to taste test for you. But I've given you the recipes. They'll all be in the description. Now, if you do use a different store-bought pectin than the one I used, refer to the instructions on that particular pectin. But if you use this one, those instructions will be in the description, as well as for the Pomonas and as well as for the one that I use for our family. So there you go. 3 different options for strawberry jam. I hope that you take the opportunity for strawberry season in your area and make some. Let me know if you've tried them. Let me know which ones you like the best. And, you know, put that jam up for a special occasion or for your Saturday morning breakfast or just for whatever. And if you enjoyed this, please leave me a comment. If you have a question, let me know. I'd love to answer. I try to make sure that I answer or acknowledge everyone that I can. So thanks again for being here. May the Lord just bless you, and I appreciate you watching. Bye-bye.